What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikiPikaPapa, and you know how much I love these grading report videos, and I can't wait to share this one with you. So there is all kinds of awesome data jam-packed into this report. So this looks at all of the grading that happened in the month of March for PSA, BGS, SGC, CGC, and it puts it all into one handy-dandy report for us to look at and break down. Now, I have been looking at this report for as long as it's been coming out, long before this channel was even a figment of my imagination. And I'm gonna tell you right now, there's some things in this report I've never seen before. It's incredibly exciting, awesome macro level market indicators in here, and I can't wait to share it with you. With that being said, listen, as pumped as I am about this video, I've got another one coming out later this week that I am even more excited about. So if you're not a member of this channel, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, drop a comment down below, let us know what you think about stuff like this. We're doing some awesome stuff here in the PikiPikaPapa world, and we would love to have you as a member. So without further ado, let's get into this jam-packed March grading report, okay? So first thing we're gonna look at, this is the overall number of cards that were graded by all of the companies. Look at PSA. PSA just had an absolute bonkers month of March when it came to grading. PSA's CEO and president had put a line in the sand. He said, we want to get to 1.25 million cards graded per month. I know them. I know that they're not celebrating, but they are knocking on the door at 1.22 million. That is just an absolute crazy number. I have called it out the last couple months. I've been looking at PSA. If you look at their trend line, it's kind of been flat over the last 3, 4, 5 months. So to see them break out like this in the month of March is absolutely incredible. Kudos to PSA. Everybody else down below is so incredibly small. We have to do a separate graph over to the right to look at how their performance was. And it was mixed results. Listen, I am pumped for Beckett. Look at Beckett. Beckett has had a couple strong months. January was all-time low. Not all-time low. January was low compared to where it's been over the last couple months. And then look, February was up. March was up. Maybe Beckett's starting to figure it out. You guys know how much I love Beckett. It's very nostalgic for me. I remember running to the mailbox to get my Beckett magazines back in the day, so I'd like to see Beckett doing well. I also think PSA needs a strong second competitor. I don't know who that's going to be, but really excited to see Beckett doing well. Look at SGC. SGC absolutely went nuts. Now, they did a ton of promos last month. We're going to talk about that later on in this video, but I think a lot of this growth is being driven by some of the promos that they did, not necessarily by TCG cards, which is the focus of this video and what we all care about. CGC, I talk about this all the time. Look how inconsistent they are. I don't know if it's a reporting error on their side, but for me, it's really weird to see them spike and fall, spike and fall, spike and fall. I talked about it last month. I said, hey, I'm excited to see what they do in March. Hopefully, they're going to start a trend line up. But no, they break my heart and they plummet right back down, okay? So with that being said, let's start looking at these things in a little more detail in the next slide. So these are specifically PSA. Now, you know that I always, in these detailed slides, I talk about PSA and why? Because PSA is so far above everybody else. Like when we want to talk about true macro level information, when we want to have a big enough sample size, PSA is the only game in town that we got to look at. So these are the most graded TCG sets by PSA for March. Now, when we look at these most graded sets and singles and all that, remember, this includes all TCG. Now, Pokemon is the only one listed here, but you got to understand, any TCG card is eligible to be on this set. Any set is eligible to be on here. So that just talks about the power and the dominance Pokemon has in the overall TCG space. Now, thing I wanted to call out here right off the bat is the 1999 Pokemon game. For as long as I've been looking at this, that was the #1 graded set. Last month was the first time I saw it drop to #2. This month I see it drop down to #3. I don't think that that signifies any weakness in the 1999 Pokemon set. I just think that other people are getting into the hobby. Other people are more excited about some of these modern cards. And the Japanese cards have been absolutely on fire. I think it's a new segment of the hobby where people are just piling in right now, okay? The V-Star universe has been #1 back-to-back months. Now, again, remember, we started talking about the Japanese sets a couple months ago because we saw on this report, hey, it's starting to trend up. These are starting to come out of nowhere. Again, this was a pre-indicator to all of this hype. I know the booster boxes have been selling for a lot of money. Like, I know people are fired up about the product. But listen, as people are grading more and more of these, it just goes to say, this is something that isn't going away. This is how we use this data to help us play chess when everybody else is playing checkers, right? The other thing that's absolutely no surprise at all is to see Crown Zenith pop up there. We knew Crown Zenith was going to be an awesome set. We've seen a lot of success in there. Yes, it's dropped down. That's what sets do. They release and they drop, but the drop hasn't been quite as significant as I had anticipated. So they're doing really good. Sets that have dropped off this month: Vivid Voltage, Hidden Fates, XY Evolutions, Team Rocket, and the 1999 German set were all top-graded PSA sets last month. Those have all fallen off. Guess what? Last month, a lot of those sets were older. And now, all of a sudden, it's all ultra modern. Ultra modern is where everybody graded last month, which is interesting to see that big flip, right? We had 5 sets, 2000 or older, in last month's grading report. This month, all of them seem to be ultra modern, except that 1999 Pokemon game. So, new sets that are on here, Crown Zenith, no surprise. Brilliant Stars is making a push, right? Like, I think this is a good indicator. We talk about Brilliant Stars being the top 4 set for the Sword and Shield era. Seeing people get the cards graded does nothing but reinforce that. It's got to fall off Pokemon Center before we're going to see the booster box have the opportunity to really grow. But the fact that it's one of the most graded sets, again, just goes to speak to it. Vivid Voltage was one of the most graded sets last month, and yet we saw the booster box prices increase significantly. So, Brilliant Stars, keep an eye on that. And then Japanese promo 25th anniversary, Japanese VMAX Climax, Japanese EV Heroes, like 3 of the 5 sets that are new on this are all Japanese, and Japanese is the #1 set graded at PSA, so just absolutely killing the game, Japanese sets. It's exciting to see that market segment grow. Is it going to be able to retain the strength? I don't know, but for now it sure is kicking butt and taking names. All right, and the very next one we're going to look at here, these are the most graded individual cards by PSA for the TCG segment. So it doesn't just take the sets, now it goes one step further. These are the sets, these are the actual cards. So pre-order #1 for the Japanese Scarlet and Violet promo, that Pikachu card is the #1 graded card all time. There's been 12,400 of them graded in March. 4,800 of them were graded. And then you're going to see to the right of that, it shows you the growth, March over February. And then it shows you the gem rates. And you know that I really focus on gem rates when we get to this slide every single month because I think it's really important to talk about it, okay? So look at the gem rate. So the March gem rate for that card was 88%. The February gem rate was 90%. The all-time gem rate is 90%. That means out of all of the cards that have been sent, out of all of these cards that have been sent to PSA, 90% of them have been awarded a Gem Mint 10 grade. Now, that says a couple things in my mind. First and foremost, it talks to the quality of Japanese cards. When you go down this list and you look at all of the all-time gem rates, 90% Japanese, 89 Japanese, 89 Japanese, 88 Japanese, like amazing. Super high print quality. That is awesome. But what it also tells me as a collector / investor is Gem Mint 10s just, it rains Gem Mint 10s, right? Like it's not hard. I like Gem Mint 10s for their exclusivity. I like them because it's a low population report. I like it because not many people have this perfect pristine card in their collection. But when I look at Japanese cards, they're all perfect. They're all pristine. I mean, this data right here suggests that at least 88, 89, 90% of them are perfect or pristine. So that's what I take away from this. Again, super happy with the Japanese quality, but what does that mean for the long-term value, the long-term collectability of these PSA 10 Japanese cards? Should you be paying a premium for them when you know, hey, listen, if I go and buy singles, if I go and rip packs, there's a very, very good chance that I'm going to be getting Gem Mint cards out of it. So why pay the premium to get it in the slab? Just do it yourself. The other thing I always talk about, look at the all-time gem rate versus the March gen rate. It is flat or down. I talk about this. I'm not going to beat this horse, but I always talk about if you get cards you want graded, send them in ASAP. The data certainly suggests there's a there when I say that the earlier you get it to PSA, the better the odds are of you getting Gem Mint 10 cards, simply because PSA doesn't want to flood the market with PSA 10s of cards when they don't have to. Ultra Premium Zards are still racking up the slabs. I was shocked when I pulled it this month and I saw that the 3 of the top 4 are still those Sword and Shield UPC Charizard promos. I think that's absolutely crazy. People are grading this out of the roof. But look at the gem rate. All-time gem rate, 30%, 38%, 29%. That tells me even though a ton of them are getting graded, there's still some air of exclusivity when it comes to getting gems. So happy to see the gem rates coming down. And again, I already talked about it. This is 100% Pokemon. Yay, Pokemon. All right, next slide right here. Most graded subjects, we don't have to talk about this because this doesn't change a whole lot. This is what we use in order to determine, for me, if I am looking at a sealed product, a box, an ultra premium, a UPC, even when I look at booster boxes, I want to see these cards or these characters listed in it because these are the ones that command the most interest, right? Charizard's been #1 literally every single month. The top 8 cards have been shuffling around, but those always have been the same. The top 8 names are up there. This is the first time I've seen trainers on there. Look at that. Trainers are absolutely popping off. And then Giratina down there at the very bottom, we saw the interest in Crown Zenith. Giratina's going up. What I hope doesn't happen is I hope we don't see like tons and tons and tons of them getting graded because I think that's a super cool card and I don't want the market to be flooded with them and see the prices drop. It probably will happen, but who knows? We shall see. Maybe the investor sentiment will be high enough that we will, you know, the gold borders, it's just a beautiful card, so maybe the investor sentiment will be enough to keep the prices super high even if there's a ton of them out there on the market. But this was really cool. Look at those trainers. We talked about trainers a couple months ago. Man, I'm so excited when I I see them on a list like this. Very, very cool stuff. All right, next one right here. Grades by category. So this is a cool one to look at. So you have PSA, SGC, Beckett, and CGC. And it's interesting to see where they're gaining ground. So you see TCG, baseball, basketball, football. I refer to baseball, basketball, football as the ball sports. You got non-sports, soccer, hockey, all those other things down there. And you can see where they were growing. The reason I talked about SGC earlier and I said, hey, they ran this really crazy TCG promo. I think it was $15 with a 5 to 10 day turnaround time, no minimum, no nothing. They were doing everything in their power to get TCG cards in last month. They still went down 19%, which to me, I guarantee there's somebody in a boardroom going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do to get those Pokemon maniacs to send me their cards because we threw everything at them, including the kitchen sink, and we still went down 19% month over month. So PSA, they did the same thing. They had a $15 grading special, and guess what? They went up 16%. Beckett went up 27%. CGC, as we talked about earlier, went down 17%. I always look at the total number of TCG cards graded versus the total number of ball sports graded because I have this theory that in the long run, TCG is going to take over ball sports in the world of popularity. I just think that there's more market for it. I think that there's, just bigger investment sentiment to it. I think a lot of people like me are going to transition from ball sports over into TCG. And that's why I track this. So if you see underneath the PSA Monster Month all around, you're going to see on the left-hand column is the number of TCG cards that were graded, and in the right-hand column is the number of ball sports cards that were graded month over month. You'll see that in December it was an 81% ratio, then it dropped to 70, then it went up to almost 95. This month it was at 97%. So we're starting to see that trend start to move up into the right. We're going to continue to monitor that, but it's going to be really exciting as we see that creep closer and closer to a 1-to-1 ratio. And then we already talked about the volumes of all these cards. So super exciting report. And look at PSA. PSA was up almost all the way around top to bottom. At the very bottom, they lost 27% in tickets being graded. Who cares? SGC was more inconsistent all over the place. CGC, they had some issue pulling some of the reports, so we don't have a full look at that. But hey, Beckett, PSA, killing the TCG game. Happy to see that. Next one right here. This is just what I called out in the last video. I was saying, hey, listen, March is going to tell us the trend because we had seen that in November, December, January, February, like we saw the trend lines kind of going up and down for TCG cards graded at PSA by month. Overall, look at March, almost 500,000 TCG cards graded in the month of March, up 65,000 versus February. Absolutely bonkers. I drew that trend line across that 300,000 because that seemed to be kind of like the resistance point there for most of 2022. We've seen it break out towards the end of 2022. We see it continue to break out in 2023. I think 400,000 is going to be that new line of resistance, and someday it's going to be all the way up to 500,000 TCG cards graded per month, and I think that is nothing but a good thing. Q1 as a whole was an absolute monster. I love it. We will see what happens with Scarlet and Violet. Listen, I don't think there's a ton of cards out there right now. I think Scarlet and Violet is going to be all over it, but I think Sword and Shield, I just don't see a lot of it out in the space. So what's exciting to me is even though I don't see a ton of it out there on the market and in the collecting space, we are still seeing tons and tons of cards being graded, and that just tells me people are finding value in getting their cards graded. So next, we got this next slide right here. This is what I talk about this a lot because there's always these arguments. Beckett gives easy 10s, PSA gives easy 10s, well, SGC gives easy 10s, CG. Anyways, this is the actual data, okay? So PSA TCG, and I love the fact that they've broken this out. PSA TCG, 52% of cards submitted were Gem Mint. Guess what? You saw how many Japanese cards were submitted, and almost all of those were PSA 10s, right? We know that almost 90% of all Japanese cards that are submitted end up in a PSA 10 holder. So the fact that, I don't know, I think it was 4 or 5 of the top 10 sets are Japanese, I think that's going to raise that average up. So just have that in your mind when you're submitting non-Japanese sets, that it's going to be less than 50% gem rate. So Beckett's at 47.8%, SGC was at 54.6%, CGC's at 31.6%. Again, SGC was greater than PSA, PSA was greater than Beckett, Beckett was greater than CGC. So this is just something that I like to add in there. At the end of the day, I always say this, grade with the company that you love. Don't grade with the company because you think you have a better odds of getting a 10 with PSA or better odds of getting a 10 with CGC or whatever that is. Grade with the company that you love. Grade with the one that you trust with encapsulating your card. Grade with the one, if you're an investor like me, where you think you're going to get the best returns on your money. And again, this all is just kind of fluff data, but I do think it's awesome to look at, and I think it's worth talking about every single month, so we will continue to do so. Now, this is one that it kind of an impromptu slide I wanted to talk about. If you guys weren't aware, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days ago, Beckett has announced that they are going to redo the way that they grade their cards. So as you all know, 9.5 has always been a gem mint in the Beckett space. Now they are changing 9.5 to mint plus. 10 is going to be a gem mint. 10 is going to be a gem mint. 10 is also going to be a pristine. 10 is also going to be a pristine black label. So lots of stuff going on here. Here's what I'm going to say. To me, this is too much. Like, I honestly think, like, if it gets 110 subgrade, it's a gem mint. If it gets 210 subgrades, it's still a gem mint. If it gets 310 subgrades, it moves into a gold label pristine. If it gets 410s, it's a black label pristine. 9.5. Anyways, I'm just gonna tell you right now, it was too much for me. It was met with a ton of backlash, and look what happened, everybody. Beckett came out and they said, hey, listen, we're going to put a pause on this because you guys have spoken. We are listening. You guys have said, hey, we don't like this. We're going to put a pause on this. But it's still worth talking about because they are going to do something. Something is going to change. I highly doubt that they are going to revert back to the way they've always been doing things. They're supposed to make an announcement later this week or early next week. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Beckett says. I don't do any Beckett grading, so it doesn't really affect me, but I know there's a lot of people out there who like the black labels. Now, apparently there might be a gold label pristine, so I wanted to make sure that we talk about it on this channel and everybody has it on their radar, okay? We will see what happens. If Beckett drops any life-changing or groundbreaking news, I make sure to talk about it on this channel in the upcoming videos. Finally, right here, the recap. Listen, the TCG hobby is strong. If you had any doubts, if you had any questions, I promise you, I have been looking at this report for years. Like I said, long before I got into TCG, back when I was in my sports card days, I've always looked at this report and it has always been a good gauge of hobby strength. The fact that TCG cards are absolutely crushing it only goes to solidify the fact people are interested in the hobby. People are interested in the investing side. People think this is a good buy and hold investment avenue. That's why they're getting these cards encapsulated. That's why they pay the premium to go with PSA, and that's why they get it done. So this is nothing but exciting. Listen, last month also I wanted to talk about that $15 special. Listen, PSA and SGC, I said it was a little bit of a race to the bottom. PSA won, SGC fell flat. I can't believe, I was absolutely dumbfounded by the fact that SGC went down in their TCG grading after doing a $15 5 to 10 day turnaround time, no minimum, no membership fee, no anything. Somebody in a boardroom is sweating, they're living life out because didn't turn out the way they expected, and I guarantee that they lost a couple nickels on that. The other thing, we talked about brilliant stars. This report has been predictive in the past. We saw the trend with Japanese early on because of this report. We saw the trend with Vivid Voltage early on because of this report. This report gives us some ideas of what is happening and what might happen in the future. Is it going to happen again? I don't know. This is only our fourth video on this one in this channel, so we're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to track the trends. Japanese is on absolute fire. As I said when we were talking about different grading companies, I want you to collect what you love, whatever that might be, whatever slab it is, whatever holder it is, I don't care. I want you to collect what you love. I want you to have a ton of fun enjoying this hobby. And as I said, listen, I got some fire videos that I think are coming out relatively soon, and I'd love it if you guys were a part of this. So if you made it to the all the way to the end and you're not a subscriber yet, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment down below, say hey, give us a thumbs up, and I appreciate your time. You guys have an epic day. Talk to you later. Bye.